Look at a map of the Middle East. Find the Persian Gulf. Follow it east. And at the point where the Gulf narrows to almost nothing, barely 33 miles of open water, you will find the most important piece of ocean on the face of the earth. Not the most beautiful, not the largest, not the deepest, the most important. Through this narrow channel, squeezed between the jagged limestone mountains of Oman's Musandam Peninsula, on one side, and Iran's long coastline studded with military installations on the other, flows more than 20% of the world's entire crude oil supply, every single day, without interruption, without pause. If oil is the bloodstream that keeps the world's industrialized body alive, then the Strait of Hormuz is its main artery. A clot here, even for 24 hours, and the entire global economic system begins to convulse. Oil prices spike, inflation spreads across continents, industries shut down, governments scramble. And yet, set aside the warships and the radar systems and the geopolitical chess games being played above it, and you will find something that the headlines have never bothered to show you. A world of extraordinary beauty, of ancient geology, of salt caves and rainbow-colored islands, of dolphins and whale sharks, of cultures so old they speak languages that exist nowhere else on Earth. A world that has been quietly magnificent since long before the first oil tanker ever floated on its surface. This is the story of the Strait of Hormuz. All of it. The Strait of Hormuz is not a choice. For the oil-producing nations of the Persian Gulf, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Iran itself, it is a geographical destiny. There is no alternative route, no pipeline that replaces it, no other opening in the land that surrounds the Gulf on almost every side. The strait is the only door, and the entire world's energy system depends on that door staying open. Every day, approximately 21 million barrels of crude oil pass through these waters. That figure represents more than 1/3 of all oil transported by sea anywhere on the planet. Approximately 70% of that oil is bound for Asia, for the energy-hungry economies of China, Japan, South Korea, and India, nations that keep the global manufacturing chain turning, and without which the products that fill the shelves of every store in every city in the world would simply cease to arrive. When analysts and economists and military strategists talk about choke points, the narrow passages through which global trade must pass, they always begin here: the Suez Canal, the Malacca Strait, the Bab el-Mandeb, all important. But Hormuz is in a category of its own, because nothing that passes through Hormuz can go anywhere else instead. If Hormuz closes, there is no plan B. The region around the strait has almost never known true peace. It operates in what military analysts call gray zone warfare, a state of permanent low-level conflict that never escalates into full-scale war, but never truly ends either. Iranian Revolutionary Guard, speedboats shadowing tankers, American aircraft carriers anchored in the Gulf as a permanent warning, tankers seized, drones shot down, mines placed, threats issued, and then, for a while, quiet. And then, again, the threats. The world watches, oil prices move, markets react, and the 33-mile passage continues to flow. Because all parties understand at some level that closing it would damage everyone, including themselves. The strait is held open not by peace, but by mutually assured economic destruction. The Strait of Hormuz is the only place on Earth where a single act of military aggression could, within days, trigger inflation on every continent simultaneously. That is not power. That is something beyond power. That is leverage over civilization itself. Hormuz Island, the Rainbow Island, where the Earth ran out of restraint with color. Most people who know of the Strait of Hormuz know it only as a geopolitical pressure point, a name on a news ticker, a phrase in an analyst's report. Very few of them know that sitting at the entrance to this contested waterway is an island so visually extraordinary that scientists who study other planets use photographs of it as reference material for what Mars might look like up close. Hormuz Island, a small oval of land, just 42 square kilometers, sitting in the Persian Gulf at the point where the strait begins to open. It looks, from above, like a painter's palette that someone has left out in the sun. Bands of deep red, burnt orange, sulfur yellow, purple, white, and black stripe the hills and coastlines in patterns that have no equivalent anywhere else in the world. The explanation lies 500 million years in the past. Over 500 million years ago, thick layers of salt were deposited around the ancient Persian Gulf by shallow, evaporating seas. Over time, volcanic deposits buried them, but the salt, lighter than the rock above it, slowly pushed upward through the overlying geology like a slow-motion fountain of crystallized mineral. The result is a landscape with over 70 distinct minerals visible at the surface, each one coloring the rock and soil a different shade, creating stripes and veins of color that run through the island like brushstrokes on an enormous canvas.
The most dramatic feature of Hormuz is its red beach. The iron content in the volcanic soil here reaches its highest concentration at the shoreline, staining the sand a deep reddish brown, the color of brick or of dried blood. The sand itself is extraordinarily fine and light. When waves break on this beach, they pick up the red mineral particles and carry them in the water, so that the surf crashing against the shore appears, for a moment, to run red. Between the deep red grains, Black and gray crystals of magnetite and mica catch the light, sparkling like flecks of diamond in the red earth. Walking on this beach, your feet are stained red. Your hands, if you touch the sand, turn red. The island marks everyone who comes to it. The women of Hormuz Island have known about the mineral properties of this red soil for generations. They use it as a natural pigment, painting their faces with it in traditional patterns, dyeing fabrics, applying it to their skin. Today, tourists do the same, smearing the red mud across their faces and arms in the belief, not entirely without scientific basis, that the high iron and mineral content has therapeutic properties. Photographs of tourists on the red beach of Hormuz, their faces and hands painted vivid red, circulate across the internet and are consistently mistaken for digital art. The Musandam Peninsula, on the southern shore of the Strait of Hormuz, separated from the rest of Oman by the United Arab Emirates and reachable only by a long drive through UAE territory or by sea. The Musandam Peninsula extends into the strait like a finger of fractured limestone reaching toward Iran. It is a place of such dramatic and unexpected beauty that the first visitors invariably struggle to believe they are still in the Middle East. The mountains of Musandam, sharp, sun-bleached, dramatically vertical, drop directly into the sea without preamble, without foothills, without a gradual descent. The result is a coastline of deep fjords, narrow arms of vivid turquoise water pushed between cliffs that rise hundreds of meters on either side, carved by the same tectonic forces that shaped the strait itself. The Arabian Plate, pressing southward beneath the Eurasian Plate, is causing the Musandam landmass to slowly sink. The sea is flooding the mountain valleys, creating fjords of a kind that you would normally expect to find in Norway or New Zealand, not on the edge of the Arabian Desert. Inside these fjords, where the cliffs block the wind and the water is protected from the open gulf, there is a silence so complete that it becomes a physical experience. When a boat engine is cut, the only sounds are water lapping against the cliff faces and occasionally the breathing of dolphins. Because the fjords are nutrient-rich, sheltered, and warm, They support extraordinary marine life. Coral reefs of exceptional quality, schools of tropical fish moving in formations visible from the surface, and a regular population of dolphins so accustomed to boats that they approach without hesitation. During the migration months of April through July, the fjord waters of Musendam receive a visitor of a different scale entirely. Whale sharks, the largest fish on Earth, reaching 10 meters in length, arrive in the nutrient-rich current off the peninsula to feed. Despite their size, they are filter feeders, gentle, slow-moving, indifferent to the presence of swimmers. Travelers can enter the water alongside them, floating next to an animal the length of a bus, close enough to see the individual spots on its skin, close enough to feel the pressure wave of its passage. It is one of the most extraordinary wildlife encounters available anywhere on the planet, and it happens quietly at the edge of the world's most militarized waterway. Kish Island. Not all of Iran's Gulf islands carry the weight of geopolitics. One of them, small, oval-shaped, surrounded by water so clear you can count individual fish from the shore, has spent the last several decades becoming something else entirely. A free trade zone, a resort destination, a place where the normally strict rules of the Islamic Republic are applied with a noticeably lighter hand. Kish Island. Called the Pearl of the Persian Gulf by those who live there and by the visitors who come from across Iran and from neighboring countries to walk its wide promenades and shop in its enormous tax-free malls. The sand on Kish is white, pulverized coral, so fine and so bright that it reflects the sun like polished chalk. And because the island sits on a coral platform, the water around it never turns the murky green of deeper seas. It stays clear, always. Clear enough, right at the shore, to see the seabed. But beneath the shopping centers and the beach promenades, Kish has a secret that most visitors walk over without knowing it. "16 meters below the surface of the island, running for kilometers in every direction, is an ancient water system called Kariz, carved by hand over 2,500 years ago by engineers who needed to channel and store fresh water on an island that receives almost no rainfall. Walking through the Kariz tunnel today, in the cool silence of the underground passageway, you look up and see a ceiling embedded with fossils, shells, coral, marine organisms, dating back 270 to 570 million years. a natural air conditioning system carved by human hands into a rock that was once ocean floor. On the western shore of the island, half submerged in shallow water, the rusted hull of a Greek cargo ship sits exactly where it ran aground in 1966. It has been there so long it has become a landmark, a backdrop for photographs, a silhouette against the Gulf sunset that has been photographed millions of times. The ship goes nowhere. The sea moves around it. The island simply absorbed it, as it has absorbed everything else that has come to rest on its shores over 3,000 years of continuous habitation.
Keshem Island. If Hormuz Island is a jewel, Keshem is the entire treasure chest. The largest island in the Persian Gulf, 1,500 square kilometers of limestone, salt, mangrove forest, and geological wonder, Keshem sits just south of the Iranian coast like an enormous natural museum. Its entire surface a record of events that took place millions of years before the first human being ever stood on its shores. Keshem is the only island in the Middle East included in UNESCO's Global Geoparks Network, a recognition that its geological formations are not merely beautiful, but scientifically significant, offering a record of the Earth's history that exists in this combination and concentration nowhere else. At the heart of the island's geological showcase is Chaku Canyon. In Persian, Cha means well, and Ku means mountain. The canyon is not a single gorge, but a cross-shaped system of two perpendicular ravines intersecting at their centers. As you descend into it, the walls rise. At the deepest sections, the cliffs reach 100 meters, while the passage between them narrows to barely the width of a person's shoulders. Wind and water have carved the limestone into shapes that look handmade. Deep, winding grooves running through the rock like ribbons of silk. Thousands of tiny holes carved into cliff faces by sand-carrying winds, creating surfaces that resemble enormous beehives or fossilized coral. The canyon is in almost complete silence. The rock walls filter every sound from outside, leaving only the sound of footsteps and breathing. The second of Keshem's great geological wonders is Stars Valley, a landscape that local tradition says was created when a star fell from the sky and struck the earth, sending rocks and debris flying in every direction. The impact explanation is folklore, but the landscape it describes is real. Pillars and columns of eroded rock stand in a maze of passages and open spaces, their surfaces carved by millennia of wind into shapes of impossible complexity. At night, with no light pollution for miles, the Milky Way appears directly above the stone columns, and standing among them in the silence, the name Stars Valley feels entirely accurate. Chabahar, travel far enough east along the Iranian coast, past the strait, past the islands, past the last military checkpoint, and the landscape changes completely. The Persian Gulf is gone. The Indian Ocean takes its place. The air changes. The culture changes. Even the people change. You have arrived in Chabahar, a city whose name means 4 springs, given to it because the sea breeze from the Indian Ocean keeps its climate moderate and pleasant, even when the rest of the region is suffering through temperatures that make breathing uncomfortable. Chabahar is Iran's only deep-sea port, with direct access to the open ocean, positioned entirely outside the Strait of Hormuz, which makes it, from a geopolitical standpoint, enormously significant. While the entire Persian Gulf is bottlenecked by the strait, Chabahar opens directly onto the Indian Ocean. India has invested heavily here, recognizing that a free port at Chabahar gives it a trade route to Afghanistan and Central Asia that bypasses Pakistan entirely. The Strait of Hormuz is, by any measurement, one of the most consequential pieces of water on the planet. The decisions made in the capitals of nations about what happens here, whether the ships flow freely, whether the oil keeps moving, whether the gray zone of permanent low-level conflict stays gray or turns something worse, affect the price of petrol at every forecourt in every country, the cost of food in every supermarket, the temperature of every heated home in every winter. The world has been holding its breath over this strait for decades, and it will continue to do so for as long as the global economy runs on oil, which is to say, for some considerable time yet. But here is what the world does not know, because the world has been too busy watching the tankers and the warships to look at anything else. Within a few kilometers of the most strategically vital waterway on Earth, there is a rainbow island where the beach runs red with iron. There are fjords that belong in Norway, hidden in Oman. There are dolphins and whale sharks and manta rays in water so clear it seems impossible. There is a cave where a salt goddess has been waiting for visitors for 500 million years. There is a language that exists in one village and nowhere else, built from the words of every maritime civilization that ever passed through these waters. There are women painting their faces with the red earth of an ancient seabed. There are master craftsmen building wooden ships by hand without plans, by memory, by song. There is a pink lake in a Martian desert at the edge of the Indian Ocean. There is silence in a limestone canyon, so deep that the outside world disappears entirely. The strait did not create these things. It simply runs alongside them, through them, carrying the world's oil in one direction and in the other, a beauty that nobody is watching because everyone is too busy worrying about the oil. May the waves of Hormuz carry only trade and wonder, because if the gates here ever truly close, the world will lose not only its energy, but its last reminder that the most important places on Earth are also, quietly, the most beautiful.